This is your set number 3. We the authors, their place and the works. As you can see, 34 previous year questions. I think this is one of the highest number of previous year questions have ever been asked on any set of history. Okay, in ancient Indian history I'm talking about. 34 previous year questions. So you can just infer how important it is to keep in mind the works and their author as much as possible. You have in your notes a lot of works and their authors somewhere according to chronology also. I've covered as much as possible, and we will see in the previous year questions also how impactful your notes were and what kind of things you are getting as a questions in other exams of UPSC in the most recent years. Fine. So likewise, we are also going through with one series of everything on the works and their author in tabular format. I've created something like this. Okay, so first we have Shudrak. He was related with the drama. One of the most celebrated work of Shudrak was your Mritshikatikam, and Mritshikatikam has been asked a lot by UPSC in many years, okay, in your civil service prelims only. So what is Mritshikatikam basically? This is love affair of a rich merchant, Charudatta, and courtesan's daughter, Vasantasena. Then Sushruta, deal with surgery and medicine. His Sushruta Sahinta is very well known on surgery. Then Vishakhadatta, dramatist. Devi Chandraguptam, important work, and Mudra Rakshas. Don't get confused between Mudra Rakshas and Mritshikatikam. Mritshikatikam is by Shudrak and Mudra Rakshas is by Vishakhadatta. What is Devi Chandraguptam? King Ramagupta decides to surrender his queen Dhruva Devi to a Shaka enemy when besieged. Ramagupta's young brother Chandragupta enters the enemy camp disguised as the queen and kills the enemy ruler. So this work is based on this incident. Mudra Rakshas, court types of Chandragupta Maurya, his ascent to power. Court time of the Chandragupta Maurya basically. Varamihira, astronomy, prominent works are Brihad Sahinta, Panch Siddhantika. Brihad Sahinta mentioned the astrological portents of bad harvest and famine also. Brihad Sahinta deals with the qualities of diamond, rubies and pearls. The chewing of betel leaf is mentioned in the Jataka stories as well as in Charaka and Sushruta Sahintas. Brihad Sahinta of Varamihir and the Mandsaur inscription, they are also important. Okay. Then Panch Siddhantika, we have covered the Mandsaur inscription about that the silk guild. Okay. Panch Siddhantika summarizes the astronomical works and ideas of the preceding centuries. It is earliest datable text to give 0 both as a symbol and as a number. Keep this in mind. The decimal system of notation was used by Varamihir and was referred to by Aryabhatta in his Aryabhatiya. Aryabhatta's Aryabhatiya also deals with maths problem. Now we have Charaka, deal with medicine. Charak Sahinta, work on medicine. Brahmagupta deals with maths and astronomy. Brahma's food Siddhanta and Khanda, what is this? Khanda Khadyaka. Brahma's food Siddhanta is the first surviving Indian text containing discussions of astronomical instruments. Very important. Brahma's food Siddhanta by Brahmagupta. It is the first surviving Indian text containing the discussion of astronomical instruments. Then Vatsyayana Kama Sutra, it deals with eroticism and sex. Manu, Manav Dharma Shastra and Manusmriti. Shukraniti Sara, somewhere it is mentioned, basically just remember the author is unknown. It deals with science of governance. Kautilya's Arthashastra, of course, very important, and another controversial question appeared, which I told previously. We will see this question now in this set. Arthashastra discusses about divorce to a wife deserted by her husband. Term moksha has been used for it. What is the take of Arthashastra on slavery? These three statements appeared in your previous year question, that a person could be a slave due to judicial punishment. If a female slave bore her master a son, she was legally free. The same son, if fathered by master, he is entitled to the legal status of the master's son. So this is all mentioned in the Arthashastra on slavery. Milindapanhu. Milindapanhu, it's a dialogue between the Greek king Menander and the Buddhist monk Nagasena. It's a work by Nagasena. Bilhana, Vikramank Dev Charita, that's his work. Vikramank Dev Charita, Western Chalukya. This dynasty were talked about in this particular work. Chaura Panchashika, that's a love story. Okay, I think that's also by Bilhana. Chaura Panchashika. That's a love story. Empire King Vikramaditya VI appointed Bilhana as Vidyapati. Yes, Bilhana rewarded his patron by composing in his honor this epic, Chaura Panchashika. Banabhatta, very easy. He was the scholar under the patronage of Harshvardhan, wrote Harshcharita about Harshvardhana years. Ashwaghosha, Buddhacharita, an epic poem in Sanskrit, Mahakavya style, on the life of Gautam Buddha. Vasubandhu, Asanga, there was a scholar called Vasubandhu. Asanga, Maitriyanath and Vasubandhu, these were the founders of Yogacara school, and Yogacara school is a Mahayana Buddhist school. Okay, so it's important. You are getting question like Hastamalla or Bhavabhuti. Who were these? Jain playwrights. Okay, so three names. Who were they? Three names. What these locations were. Okay, like these things. Harisena, Samudragupta, we already covered it. Kalidas, Chandragupta II was his patron. Three plays, Abhigyan Shakuntalam, Malvikagnimitra, Vikramoorvarshya. Malvikagnimitra, what is Malvikagnimitra? It's a play by Kalidas. Basically, it's a love story of Agnimitra, son of Pushyamitra Shunga, with servant girl Malvika. In the Malvikagnimitra, Agnimitra is the viceroy at Vidisha. This drama also refers to the conflict between Pushyamitra and Yagyasena, king of Vidarbha, the eastern Maharashtra area, and the victory of the Shungas. Three poetry of Kalidas, Raghuvansh, Kumar Sambhav and Meghdut. Meghdut, it describes how a yaksha who had been banished by his master to a remote region for the year asked a cloud to take a message of love to his wife. How beautiful. So this is the Meghdut by Kalidas. Then you have Bhash. The work of Bhash were Swapnavasav Datta and Pancharatra. Remember, not Panchtantra, that Pandit Vishnu Sharma. This is Pancharatra. Duttavakya and Balacharita. All these four works by Bhash. Swapnavasav Datta, it's a romantic narrative about the Kaushambi king Udayana and Vasav Datta, who were the daughter of Pradyota, the ruler of Avanti. Harshvardhana wrote Ratnavali. It's a Sanskrit drama about a beautiful princess named Ratnavali and a great king named Udayana. Panini's Ashtadhyayi, very important, asked many times. He was a grammarian who lived in the 5th or 4th century BCE. Ashtadhyayi is the oldest surviving Sanskrit grammar. His book became a landmark in the history of the Sanskrit language and literature, marking the transition from Vedic Sanskrit to classical Sanskrit. Panini was the precursor of other Sanskrit grammarians such as Katyayana and Patanjali. So keep this thing in mind. Katyayana and Patanjali. Patanjali were coming in 2nd century BCE, whereas Panini is somewhere around 5th or 4th century BC, much earlier. Amar Sinha, in the court of Chandragupta II, wrote Amar Kosha or Nama Linganu Shasanam or Amar Kosha. What is this? Instructions regarding nouns and genders. Nama Linganu Shasanam. So noun and genders, okay. Bhavabhuti, a Jain playwright. Bhavabhuti's 3 main work are Mahavir Charita, depicting the early life of Ram, Malati Madhav, a play based on the romance of Malati and Madhava, and Uttar Ramacharita depicts Ram coronation, the abandonment of Sita and their reunion. Hasti Malla, Jain playwright, and one of the prominent work of Hasti Malla is Purva Purana. Shemeshwara, around 10th century AD, he was a scholar, a Jain playwright basically. Dashavtar Charita is a prominent work by Shemeshwara. Now Neti Pakran, Neti Gandha, I think we already covered these things in our set number 1, okay, in the Buddhist literature. Neti Gandha, Neti Pakrana in Pali language, this is a book on guidance. Hemachandra, a Jaina. Parishishta Parvan, history of the earliest Jaina teachers. Then Avdana Shataka, a Buddhist text. Avdana Shataka and Divyavdanas, which have stories concerned with the Buddha and Ashoka, the 1st century AD. Ashtasahasrika, Prajnaparamita and Saddharma Pundarika often offer account of the various Buddhas, Bodhisattvas and Mahayana doctrines. Janasena and Gunabhadra, they were Jain. Trishakti Lakshana Mahapuran, they wrote this. What was this? Life stories of various Jain saints, kings and the heroes. Like there were Aryadeva, he was a Buddhist. Mahayana Buddhism received its classical exposition in the writings of thinkers such as Nagarjuna, Aryadeva, Dignaga, Asanga and Vasubandhu. Important. Dignaga, a Buddhist. A prominent work of Dignaga, Pramana Samuchya, a work which laid foundation of Buddhist knowledge. Nath Muni, he was a Vaishnava. Nalayira Divya Prabandham, prominent work. We have seen 2-3 questions UPSC asked on this particular text. The hymns of the 12 Alvars, Vaishnavites, were collected in the 10th century by Nath Muni in Nalayira Divya Prabandham. We have covered this, which constituted the Vaishnava canon. The first major hagiography of the Alvar saints was a 12th century work called the Divya Suri Charitam by Garuda Vahana. Okay, Alvar saints work was Divya Suri Charitam by Garuda Vahana. Nath Muni was founder of, this is important, Nath Muni was founder of Sri Vaishnava sect who lived in the late 10th, 11th century. In his Nyaya Tattva, another work by Garuda Vahana, so he is an important personality. Oh, not sorry, this I was wrong. Nath Muni. Okay. In his Nyaya Tattva of Nath Muni, he emphasized the idea of prapati, complete surrender to the God. So this was it from this written table which I have created. Many questions we can answer now. First, this chronology based question of 4 texts: Charak Sahinta, Natya Shastra, Sangam Literature and Ashtadhyayi. So I guess I already covered this thing in your timeline also, okay, initially when I was telling. So basically we are getting the period of Charak Sahinta, and with surety from the next question which UPSC asked in NDA 2022, where the official answer was 3rd to 2nd century BCE as per the UPSC. So yes, this is also 3rd century to early 2nd century BC. We read the Charak Sahinta in the books also. Then Natya Shastra, that's the most recent one in the common era. Okay, 2nd century AD, much latest. Sangam Literature, 3rd century BC to 3rd century AD. and Ashtadhyayi 5th to 4th century BC. Okay, if we see it in a timeline format from 5th BC to 3rd AD, okay, in this manner, then we can see Ashtadhyayi, then we are able to see Charak Sahinta, then Sangam, then the Natya Shastra. Okay, but it is indeed a tough question because there is overlap, but what is appearing first in this space, that you should mark first. Okay, Sangam is coming much earlier, then Charak Sahinta is slightly much later, in 2nd BC somewhere. So Ashtadhyayi first, then Sangama, then Charak Sahinta. Are the options helping? We will see it. Number 4 is Ashtadhyayi. Okay, that's the much earlier, Panini's Ashtadhyayi. We also covered that Panini was coming around 4th, 5th century BC. Okay, so this was the earliest, and if we just know 4, we have only one option with 4 in the beginning, so of course we got our answer, so there is less chance of getting confused, but still UPSC framed the options so close, and there is overlap between Charak Sahinta and Sangam. So if you got a question like another option like 4, 1, 3, 2, then this become tough nut to crack. Otherwise, if they just give you 4 in one option, then it is easy. Otherwise, there is overlap. So just be very cautious while attempting such question if they appear in the exam. This is straight. Charak Sahinta originated in 3rd to 2nd century BCE. Very simple questions. List 1, list 2. The work and their author. Vishakadatta. Oh, not sorry. What actually Vishakadatta were writing. Vishakadatta wrote the dramas. Varamihir wrote on astronomy. Charaka wrote on medicine. And Brahmagupta on maths. Next question. Which one of the following text of ancient India allows divorce to a wife deserted by her husband? Arthashastra. Simple. Arthashastra allows divorce to a wife destroyed by her husband. We have seen this. The famous dialogue between Nachiketa and Yama mentioned in Kathopanishad. Okay, a dialogue between Nachiketa and Yama. Milindapanho is in the form of a dialogue between the king Menander and Buddhist monk Nagasena. This Milindapanho appeared in your 2023 prelims also, as we can see this question. Okay, of 2023, for literary work and their author, but the option, the new cool. Devi Chandragupta, no, it's not by Bilhana, but it is by Vishakadatta. Hamir Mahakavya, Nayan Chandra Suri. Milindapanho, Nagasena. Niti Vakya Mitra, Somadeva Suri. Okay, and let me tell you, Hamir Mahakavya and Niti Vakya Mitra, they both were not mentioned in your notes. Okay, nor they are in your Upinder Singh. Okay, in the entire book. But you both, these two things, Milindapanha and Devi Chandragupta, absolutely they are mentioned in your notes. Okay, so on the basis of this, I think you can get the answer. Like only 2 were correct, but there was no scope of taking help from the options, so questions was tough. One of the most, this is what mentioned in your notes, one of the most important Indo-Greek rulers was Menander, King Milinda, who poses a number of questions to monk Nagasena in Buddhist text, the Milindapanha. Menander's rule extended both over parts of Bactria and northwestern India. Mahayana philosophical, there is another question on the basis of this paragraph. Mahayana philosophical ideas were represented in the text of 2 major Buddhist schools. One was Madhyamaka. Founder was Nagarjuna. Now Nagarjuna is coming around 2nd century AD. His most important work was the Moola Madhyama Karika. And this is your another question we will see right now. Root versus on the middle. The idea of Shunyata, this is important, keep this in mind because you have a question of Madhyama Karika also. So this Moola Madhyama Karika, which is a work of Nagarjuna, there is the idea of Shunyata, which is an important feature of Madhyamaka Karika work of Nagarjuna. The idea of Shunyata, keep this in mind. Next question. To list the author and their text. Varamihir, Brihad Sahinta, very simple. Varamihir, we have Brihad Sahinta. Then we have Vishakadatta's, Vishakadatta wrote Devi Chandraguptam. Shudraka wrote Mritshakatikam. Oh, I'm sorry. Shudraka, oh, why I'm sorry. Yes, it was correct. Shudraka Mritshakatikam. And Bilhana Prabandh Chintamani. This is a new from here. Prabandh Chintamani, that's a work by Bilhana. Next question. Which of the following pairs are correctly matched? Mritshakatikam Shudrak, yes. Buddhacharita, no. Buddhacharita is by Ashwaghosh, not Vasubandhu. Fine. I'm not writing for this. Simple, okay. Ashwaghosh. Mudra Rakshas by Vishakadatta, we know this. Harsharita Banabhatta. So only 1, 3 and 4. These are correct. Literary work and their author appeared in 2022. This is a bit tough. Very unconventional works. But of course mentioned in your notes. Dutta-Ghatotgach, Mritshakatikam. That's the previous one. Okay. Kiratarjuniyam and Ravanvada. Mritshakatikam, you know Mritshakatikam only. Are you able to answer the question? Mritshakatikam is by Shudrak. You know this. B is 3. You have 2 options. Now do you know anything else? Because rest of the 3 are bit unconventional. Hence question become tough. Now see this. Straight from your notes. Bhashya, another important playwright, was author of the works such as the Madhyama Vyayoga, Dutta-Ghatotgach, Dutta-Vakya, Balacharita and Charudatta. Bhashya. Shudraka's Mritshakatikam and Bhairavi's Kiratarjuniya are among the other prominent literary works of this period. Bhatti's Ravanvad, 7th century work, illustrate the rules of grammar while telling the story of Rama's life. Other great dramatists of this time, such as the Mentha, author of the work called Hayagrivavadha, and Bhamaka's Bhama's Kavyalankara and Dandin's Kavyadarsha, deal principally with the poetics. Okay, so still you have, if you see this is space, you should remember Mentha's work, Bhama's work and Dandin's work. Okay, Kavyadarsha, Kavyalankara, Hayagrivavad. Okay, and from here the Bhasha's other work, Dutta-Vakya, Balacharita and Charudatta, and Madhyama Vyayoga, Dutta-Ghatotgach, already in the question. So now it's simple. Dutta-Ghatotgach, that's by Bhashya. Mritshakatikam, your Shudrak. Kiratarjuniyam, Bhairavi, and Ravanvadha, Bhatti. Mritshakatikam repeated a lot by UPSC. Mritshakatika, an ancient Indian book written by Shudraka, deals with it's a love affair of a rich merchant with the daughter of a courtesan. Who among the following was the author of famous Sanskrit work Mritshakatika? Shudraka. Is still appearing in 2023 in so simple way. So you can get such questions also. The ancient Indian play Mudra Rakshasa of Vishakadatta has its subject on the court intrigues at the time of Chandragupta. Again, which one of the following book of ancient India has the love story of the son of founder of Shunga dynasty? Malvika Agnimitra. This was a bit different. With reference to the scholars, literatures of ancient India, consider these statements. Panini is associated with Pushyamitra Shung. No, there is a lot of gap between Panini and the rival of Pushyamitra Shung. So of course wrong. Amar Sinha is associated with Harshvardhana. No, with Chandragupta II of Gupta dynasty. And Kalidas is associated with Chandragupta II. Yes. Now this is the emerging pattern, giving you 3 names and what were they, what were this location or the site. Okay, this is also an emerging pattern. With reference to history of ancient India, Bhavabhuti, Hasti Malla and Shimeshwara were famous playwrights. Historical persons, and they were known as Aryadeva, he was a Buddhist scholar, not a Jain one. Dignaga, yes, Buddhist scholar. Nath Muni, a Vaishnava scholar. With reference to Indian history, consider these texts. This is your much mind-boggling question. Niti Pakrana, Parishishta Parvan, Avdana Shataka and Trishashti Lakshan Mahapurana. Only 2 and 4 are correct. They were the Jain texts. Okay, they were asked you which of these 4 are the Jain texts. So only Parishishta Parvan and Trishashti Lakshan Mahapurana, these, and the rest of the 2 were Buddhist work. And here is your question. Madhyamika Karika. The basic text of Madhyamaka school, composed by Nagarjuna. You can see it here, and I told you, keep this in mind, that idea of Shunyata, emptiness, was an important feature of Moola Madhyama Karika. Arthashastra, very simple question, but not the next one. Arthashastra is a work on statecraft. Now see this question. Why I marked this in red? Because not just in my opinion, but in the opinion of many, this question has been answered wrong by UPSC, even officially. Because I've cross-checked this question a lot, and there is no reason to cite statement number 1 as wrong by UPSC, which is saying a person could be a slave as a result of a judicial punishment. Yes, it's mentioned as part of the slavery by Kautilya. If a female slave bore her master a son, she was legally free. Yes, mentioned in the Rupinder Singh too. If a son born to a female slave was fathered by her master, the son was entitled to the legal status of the master's son. Yes, correct. So official answer is 2 and 3 only, but I do not think so there is any reason to, not counter the answer by UPSC, but I don't know what was the case and why they did it. So in notes, I did not mention much about the take of Arthashastra on slavery. I just mentioned that Megasthenes lauds Indian society for not having any slaves, but Arthashastra mentioned in detail about Dasa known as slaves, and Ahitakas, those pledged to the creditors when contracting a debt. See, it's mentioned from your Rupinder Singh that Kautilya lists various rules for the treatment of male and female slaves and lays down penalties for their transgression. For instance, punishment are prescribed for those who sell or mortgage a pregnant woman's slave without any arrangement for her maternity, and for those who cause such a slave to have a miscarriage. There is reference to the manumission of slave on payment of a sum of money. Kautilya also states that if a Dasi bore her master's son, she was released from enslavement and the child was considered the father's legitimate son. Ashoka's Rock Edict 9 mentions courteous behavior towards Dasa and Bhatrikas. Bhatakas and Bhatrikas were servants. Okay. As part of the Dhamma. Okay. And this was also one of your statement in previous question, like what were the things to do as per the Dhamma of Ashoka. Okay, so courteous behavior toward Das also one such Dhamma. So this was the question, but I don't know if that's why I marked the correct mark in green and in red the cross, because this particular statement is not explained by UPSC why they considered it wrong, because as per the sources, the authentic sources, this statement is correct, indeed correct. But what to say? Anyway, this is one such exception. Now this question on Patanjali's Mahabhashya. It makes mention of Kautilya, no, very absurd thing. It's a book on grammar, yes, and refers to historical personalities only incidentally. Yes, absolutely correct. In Sanskrit, plays written during the Gupta period, women and Shudras speak Prakrit language. Very plain, simple question. Who among the following is known for his work on medicine during the Gupta period? Your Sushrut. So, next question on the southern India's text, the most celebrated one, the Tolakappiyam, like the Ashtadhyayi, another work on grammar. Which one of the following statement about Tolakappiyam is not correct? It is composed. Even a child can tell you that this is a wrong statement. Although the author of Tolkappiyam considered as Tolkappiyar, but there is no consensus about the author of Tolkappiyam as much. But yes, it is a treatise on grammar. It was composed between 1st to 4th century CE, remember this period. It was part of the Sangam corpus, yes, simple. Not a work of Ashwaghosha, Manjushri Moolakalpa. No, this is not the work of Manjushri Moolakalpa. And I urge you to kindly search in your notes who is the author of Manjushri Moolakalpa. Okay, it's mentioned there. I won't tell, intentionally I won't tell, but that is in your notes. So find it out, or those who don't have notes, just Google it or find it in your another notes, whatever you are referring. But do this thing, because this appeared in 2022. And Ashwaghosha, Buddhacharita, Saundarananda and Sariputra Prakarana. These three are indeed work of Ashwaghosha. Now these two questions on elephant and the horses. Very interesting questions appeared. Who among the following is the author of Hasti Ayurveda? Palakappya, mentioned in your notes. Mention may also be made of development in veterinary science. The Hasti Ayurveda of Palakappya is a work consisting of 160 chapters. It deals with the diagnosis and treatment of the major diseases of elephants through medication and surgery. They can confuse you with the kind of organ transplant of hands, because hasta, that defines with the hand, hath also, fine. So you may get confused if you don't read it properly, but this is a work deal with elephants. Another question up here, let's discuss, yes, first this. The ancient Indian medical treatise for horses called Ashwa Shastra is attributed to which one of the following persons? The sage Shalihotra. And this is your authentic source. There was a book by Yashasvi Chandra, The Tale of the Horses, and this is an excerpt from this book, the book review actually. Okay. The legend identifying horses as originally winged celestial creatures is mainly preserved within the Shalihotra or Ashwa Shastra, the discipline of the horses genre of Indian literature. So this is yours, the sage Shalihotra. Okay, so these were the two interesting questions on elephant as well as on horse. The remaining in between, easy questions, very easy. Which one of the following pairs of authors and Sanskrit literary works is not correctly matched? Of course, Kalidasa, Vasav Datta is written by Bhasha. Somadeva, yes, Katha Sarit Sagar, Ashwaghosha Buddhacharita, Bilhana, Vikramankadev Charita. Which one of the following books was authored by Harshvardhana, Ratnavali? Okay, Geet Govind by Jaydev, Harsharita and Kadambari, you do it. Which Chinese traveller in ancient India wrote the diary called Records of the Travels to Middle India, sorry. It's Wang Zhuang. Okay, Wang Zhuang's. Okay. Then you have which one of the following pairs of author and literary work is correctly matched? Easy, very easy. Banbhat Harsharita, Kalhana Rajatrangini. Chandrabardai wrote Prithviraj Raso, not Prithviraj Vijay. Prithviraj Vijay is the work of Jayanaka. Ramacharita is the work of Sandhyakar Nandi, and this Harshcharita, you know, the Banbhatta. Okay. Ashwa Shastra, we have covered this question. Okay. Now this is the last question, and UPSC mixed this question with Upinder Singh and some other reference book of medieval India. So this is a mixed question of early medieval and ancient. So this is straight from your box, and the box is in your notes. It is talking about ancient mathematical and medical manuscripts. So in 1881, a fragmentary manuscript consisting of 70 birch bark leaves was discovered near Takshila. You have around 3-4 questions just on Takshila also. We will see it when we will see the places. So it is now known as the Bakshali manuscript. Bakshali manuscript is written in the Gatha language, a refined version of the Old Prakrit and the Sharda script. It may belong to around 3rd-4th century. The manuscript is the only extant work which gives a comprehensive account of the mathematical concepts prevalent at the time. There is also mentioned in the notes of the Bower manuscript, actually a collection of fragmentary manuscripts that seem to originally have belonged to a Buddhist monk named Yashomitra. They included 7 treatises, 3 on Ayurveda, 2 on divination by using dice, and 2 on incantations to be used against snake bite. It belongs to the late 4th or 5th century CE and proved to be an invaluable source for the history of ancient Indian medicine. Now this is your question. Okay, a very lengthy question. 3 statements. First is the Bakshali manuscript written in the Gatha language, a refined version of Old Prakrit using the Sharda script, deals with the topics such as fractions, squares, roots, arithmetic and geometric progressions. Word by word taken from Upinder Singh. And these 2, I guess they are from Irfan Habib. In the field of geometry, Aryabhatta described the various properties of circle, giving a very accurate value for pi, correct for 4 decimal places at 3.1416. So yes, this is absolutely correct. And this Sharangdhar Sahinta is an important text on political system of ancient India. Not at all. Sharangdhar Sahinta is written by Saint Sharangdhar, name itself, and it deals with your Ayurveda, not about political system and all. Okay, so this was your last question, and with this we are done with the another most important theme set, number 3, which is about your authors and whatever text they left behind for all of us. Okay, so this is it for your this theme set 3. I hope you enjoyed this set. Thank you so much.